If you grew up in the 1970s, this one's for you. You belong to a generation that rode bikes without helmets and lived to tell the tale. You made mixtapes with a pencil and a radio. No playlist ever felt that personal. Your lunchbox was made of metal, and your cartoons only came once a week. You didn't scroll, you waited, and that made it special. Let's go back to the world we remember before the world changed. There was a time when just opening a soda could leave you bleeding. If you were a kid in the 70s, you remember the thrill and the danger of the pull tab. That tiny metal ring, you'd yank it off with a satisfying pop, and just like that, the tab became trash or a toy. We'd collect them, stack them, flick them at each other like mini frisbees. And sometimes we'd step on them, barefoot. The beach was a minefield, but no one sued, no one freaked out. We just lived through it with a grin and a Kool-Aid mustache. That's the thing. Freedom came with scratches. And speaking of scratches, remember when cassette tapes got chewed up and the only fix was a pencil and pure determination? Kids today will never understand what it took to hear your favorite song. There was no play on demand. There was only the radio, your timing, and a whole lot of luck. We'd sit for hours, finger on the record button, waiting for that one track. And if the DJ talked over the intro, too bad. You kept it anyway. Making a mixtape wasn't casual. It was a craft, a message, a secret shared in sound. And when the tape jammed, you didn't panic. You grabbed a pencil and turned it like your life depended on it. That little fix, it made you feel powerful. And speaking of power, nothing made a kid feel tougher than showing up with a metal lunchbox. Kids today open a lunch bag with an ice pack and a zipper. We slammed a dented metal box onto the cafeteria table like we meant business. Those lunchboxes weren't cute. They were bold. Superman, Scooby-Doo, the Fonz, you wore your favorite character like a badge. The thermos inside always smelled a little off. Milk, tomato soup, maybe both. But you didn't complain. That was your lunch. That was you. And when it got scratched or started to rust, you didn't swap it out. You carried it with pride because it had history. Back then, we didn't need everything to be perfect. We just needed it to be ours. And speaking of ownership, remember when your bike wasn't just a ride, it was freedom on two wheels? We didn't ride bikes, we launched into adventure. No helmets, no GPS, no text from mom asking where we were. Just you, two wheels, and a full day to disappear. Your bike wasn't for exercise, it was your spaceship, your race car, your freedom machine. You learned balance the hard way by falling. Skinned knees? Just proof you were doing it right. And when the streetlights came on, you knew it was time to head home. Sunburned, sweaty, and smiling. Kids today wear elbow pads just to ride the driveway. But we conquered the neighborhood like kings. And speaking of kings, remember the instant power you felt holding a Polaroid camera? Every kid today walks around with a smartphone and 100 gigs of storage. Filters on every shot, selfies from every angle, and somehow not a single photo with a soul. But in the 70s, every picture meant something. A Polaroid wasn't just a gadget, it was magic. You'd press the button, click, and watch the moment appear in your hand. No do-overs, no editing, just one honest memory. You shook it even if it didn't help because waiting made it real. And if you didn't have a camera, there was always the photo booth. 4 grainy frames, 1 goofy face, and a tiny strip that lived in your wallet for years. We didn't chase perfection, we captured meaning. And speaking of meaning, remember when the record store felt more like a second home? Today's kids can stream 1 million songs for $10 a month, but most of them don't even finish the first 30 seconds. Skip, next. Music's too easy now, and when something's too easy, you don't feel it. But in the 70s, finding a song meant something. The record store wasn't just a place to shop, it was a place to belong. You didn't just grab music, you searched for it. flipping through vinyl sleeves, reading liner notes like sacred text. And the guy behind the counter, he was a guru, not a clerk. You discovered soundtracks to your life, one listen at a time. We didn't just play music, we lived it. And speaking of living it, remember the day you put on your very first pair of superhero Underoos? You weren't just getting dressed, you were becoming something greater. Pull on those Superman or Wonder Woman Underoos and suddenly, you were the hero. The carpet turned to concrete. The hallway became a city block. And your towel, that was your cape in flight. We didn't need Halloween. We created our own universe on any given Tuesday. Those outfits weren't just underwear. They were courage. They were pride. They were us. And now, kids wear designer labels curated by influencers. But none of it feels like magic. Likes, followers, matching sets. They look good, sure, but they don't make you believe you can fly. That kind of magic, you could still feel it under the disco lights at the roller rink. Before phones, before group chats, before TikTok, there were Friday nights at the roller rink. The lights dimmed, the disco ball spun, and the DJ dropped La Freak or Boogie Wonderland. Suddenly you weren't just skating. You were gliding, floating, owning the floor. It didn't matter if your moves were smooth or clumsy. You were out there, laughing, sweating, alive. Friends linked arms, crushes held hands during slow songs. Even falling down was part of the fun. It wasn't about being seen, it was about being there. And that feeling, almost the same as hearing your favorite track blast through a Walkman for the very first time. Your first Walkman wasn't just a gadget, it was freedom in your pocket. Plug in the headphones, press play. Suddenly the whole world faded. It was just you and the music. You had to earn that moment. Mow lawns, save allowance, borrow tapes, make your own. Every scratch, every hiss, it meant something. Kids today, they stream anything, anytime. They've never known what it's like to protect a cassette like it held your soul. That chunky little player changed everything. It gave you privacy, control, escape. And when you finally heard your favorite song while walking down the street, you didn't just listen, you lived inside it. Just like we did at the drive-in theater. Popcorn in hand, stars overhead. Netflix is easy, too easy. But in the 70s, we had the drive-in, and it felt like freedom. Piling into the car, windows down, speakers crackling, snacks in your lap, watching movies under the stars with your friends or your crush. It wasn't just about the film, it was the moment. A jumbo root beer, a hot dog wrapped in foil, a bag of popcorn passed back seat to front. Today's kids will never understand it because most drive-ins are gone. They stream alone on tiny screens. But we gathered under the sky, and that same magic flickered again every time we twisted the dial on an old TV set. Before remotes, before streaming, before recommended for you, we had 3 channels and a dial that clunked when you turned it. No binge watching, no second chances. If you missed your favorite show, you missed it. Saturday mornings were sacred. Cartoons didn't come on demand. You waited all week for that sweet 2-hour window, cereal in hand, eyes locked in. And yes, sometimes you had to get up to change the channel. Kids today have everything at their fingertips. But maybe that's why none of it feels special. Back then, less really meant more. And you could still smell the sunshine in your hair, especially after a spritz of Sun In or a dab of Love's Baby Soft. You could smell the 1970s coming before you saw it. Sun In the hair, catching sunlight on the front lawn, hoping for those golden streaks like Farrah Fawcett. It never turned out quite like the ad. But we didn't care. It meant summer, friendship, and freedom. And then there was Love's Baby Soft, that sweet, powdery scent every girl wore. It wasn't just perfume, it was a feeling, a phase, a whole identity wrapped in a pink bottle. Kids today chase trends that vanish in 24 hours. But us, we remember a smell and feel everything. like the sound of a rotary phone ringing from the kitchen. Unknown caller always answered. Before caller ID, every ring was a mystery. You heard that burring from the kitchen wall, and someone always answered. It could be your best friend, your crush, your grandma, or a wrong number from 3 towns over. But that was the beauty of it. You connected without filters, without knowing. The long cord stretched through the house, wrapped around fingers, tugged as you whispered secrets in the hallway. Today's phones do everything, but they don't linger. Back then, a phone call could change your whole day, and when you hung up, you didn't scroll, you just sat there smiling, because somehow that one call was enough. If any of this brought back a smile, then you, my friend, grew up in a time that can never be repeated. We didn't have much, but what we had, we felt it, we lived it, and we remember it together. Now it's your turn. What do you remember most from growing up in the 70s? Drop it in the comments. Let's keep those memories alive, for us and for the ones who never got to feel it.